Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Friday Inquiry. It's open sessions for spending a little time and meditating on common thought, human experience that causes pain, difficulty, suffering. So I'm going to open with a quote from Byron Katie today. This is from 1,000 Names for Joy. There is no greater illusion than fear. We can only be afraid of what we believe we are. Whatever there is in ourselves that we haven't met with understanding. If I thought you might see me as boring, for example, it would frighten me because I haven't questioned that thought. So it's not people who frighten me, it's me who frightens me. That's my job, to frighten me, until I investigate this fear for myself. The worst that can happen is that I think you think about me what I think about myself. All fear is like this. It's caused by believing what you think. No more, no less. Just noticing, like we do, any uncomfortable emotion or thought or perspective that shows up. And it's not wrong that it's there. Of course, it's not wrong. In fact, fantastic that it shows up, helping us see something, letting us notice what we're believing. So I love where we begin is just awareness of the discomfort. We all can find that often pretty quickly, is seeing where have things looked difficult to me. And just one of them, just see what rises to the top. I love thinking, okay, I'm just taking this short time and something amazing could happen. An insight. It's possible. I'm willing to notice what I'm afraid of. I'm willing to notice what I get stressed about or what causes incredible heartbreak. I almost can't help but see it. Can tell because the body does what it does. So fantastic to have feelings show up. That's brilliant. What a great design. So we're just welcoming whatever looks like a problem. You know, whether you're looks like thinking what I'm thinking about, what's out there, how I feel about what's happening. So it looks like a problem. And I love with this work that we can narrow it down. We looked at all the problems of the world and just saw a slideshow or a movie playing of everything that's happened in our own lives and the world. Can look really overwhelming. Just seeing what has shown up that really wants to be looked into. It looks like it's really knocking on the door, on your door. I'm willing to have this knock on the door. Almost no choice. The thoughts, I wish that thing would go away. Anne, hang on, you got to unmute yourself. I think you were almost there.
Do
There.
you want us to talk or do you want us to listen to you?
Go right ahead. Yeah, perfect time to jumping in.
Something has come up for me recently. I started seeing somebody, which was a big surprise to me because I had kind of given up on that idea. And and during the course of our conversations, I regularly, I guess, because he made remarks on it, um, say things that disparage myself. So he keeps saying to me, it's really horrible to hear this from you because I don't see you that way. I see you as blah, blah, blah. He tells me good things about myself. And I don't know what it is, but um, so anyway, I say things like, um, I can't do that, or these people won't like me, or stuff like that, and other stuff about my body that I don't like, and he keeps saying, don't do it, don't do it, and so it seems to me like I am. I'm having trouble loving myself, being kind to myself. I don't know what it is, how to say, but it's there right in front of me. Like I have to, um, I have to start uh, being my advocate instead of the opposite.
Mm.
And, um, because I want to have a relationship with him, and this could really get in the way of that. So,
Got it. Yeah. So I love noticing that habit of self-criticism.
mhm,
I don't do this well. I don't do this well. Maybe reporting it, and kind of
mhm.
seeing it and saying it out loud. And so, well, this doesn't look good to me. I bet you people can find that one. Here this thing is, and it happens to be my behavior.
Mhm.
See, how would you know that that was not a good way to be? Oh, this doesn't look right, or oh,
Because it makes me feel bad about myself.
hmm,
That's primarily, but also because it's obstructive. It gets in the way of me enjoying him and other people, and I mean, I can go on and on about how unworthy I am, and really believe it. And
yeah,
yeah, so that's why I know that it's not a good thing to be this way.
yeah. So this is a strange question. I love this. It's kind of great with Valentine's Day that you're bringing it. Like I'm just thinking about that a lot this week. People talking about it and speaking to it, and that it's a holiday. I don't know. Um, so how has it been useful to be self-critical?
Well, in my family, it was a kind of protection for me because my father in particular was very critical. And if I prepared myself, then, I mean, it hurt anyway, but I think the idea was if I protected myself, um, it wouldn't hurt so much when he criticized me.
Yeah. So I mean, it's kind of, there's something just a little bit sweet about seeing that, the mind or thought patterns have your best in mind, and doing the best you can in a given situation. I'll just join in with the criticism. It looks like that person over there is really critical. And I agree with them. I care about that person. I love them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other thing about it was that seeing that my father was so critical, and I didn't like that about him, and it frightened me. But there was also a part of me that loved him, and I thought that maybe by getting on his wavelength, then he would somehow know that I was aligning myself with him, and I could love him better. This is really childish thinking, but
Hmm.
but
Okay. Yeah.
that's what it was.
Yeah. I sometimes think so many habits of thought and feelings, and they're very old, aren't they? They've done it for a really long time, and they kind of have a childlike quality to them because we're just like taking something in and seeing it the way we see it from that innocent perspective. So innocent. So just jumping on the wagon of, you're right. I should be different.
Mm,
I should be that other way.
mm,
So maybe just for the sake of keeping it simple, we'll just do like, I should be different than I
yeah.
am. But like, let's just see a couple of the things or just one that kind of bubbles up and comes out. Says, I really should be different in that department. When it comes to that, oh, I definitely should be different. What's one of them that looks like a regular thought?
Um, I should be different in this way that I criticize myself all the time.
Ah, I should be different. Okay. I shouldn't criticize myself.
Mhm.
Okay. So I'm in a situation. So just give an anchor situation, and everybody can find this, where you're in the presence of another person or a group of people, and something in your thinking shows up and says, wow, I'm not good this way. I'm not good that way. I don't like this about myself. Ooh, there's that thing that I do and I don't like it, or however I look and I don't like it. And then also, like almost paired with it so fast, and I shouldn't criticize myself.
Mm, mm.
Yeah, I shouldn't even have this thinking.
Are you asking me a question that I
Well,
need to?
yeah, just everybody finding that, just that moment. So you have to have, I always just liked seeing, if I believe I shouldn't criticize myself, well, we have to assume that criticism is going on. Criticism is underway. And what's one thing in particular that your mind criticizes about you?
Mm.
Everybody can find it. You can even share in the chat or just say, what's one thing that your mind regularly and pretty predictably talks about, that a way you should not be? Appearance, behavior, feelings. I've had the thought will run through, I shouldn't be afraid, like of talking to that person. I shouldn't be afraid of talking to that person. Mary says, I shouldn't want approval. Steph says, I shouldn't think about food so much. Yeah. It's a good one. One of my favorites. Or any kind of thing that looks desirable and pleasant, but also has things that don't look so good, like a mixed bag over there. Shouldn't think about that substance or that item or that behavior or that desirable thing. I just shouldn't even think about that. Anne says, I should not be so fat, unhealthy, and out of shape. So looking at the body, really great common one. I see the body or a body part. I might see pain in the body. That shouldn't be there. Myra, I shouldn't be blocking myself subconsciously. And I'm not educated enough. I'm not worthy. I shouldn't have this lack of education. I should be more educated. Yeah. It's a good one with worthy, worthy. I'm worth. I know what the mind has to be talking about and seeing. I know what worthy is, and I'm not that. So here I am over here, not worthy. Worthy people are educated. Is that what it looks like to you? If you're really educated, you're
In certain circumstances, yes.
yes. So it's good to see. Yeah.
Or I don't have the right education.
Yeah. Yeah.
The art school education.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So you want to do the work, Anne, but everybody hold that thing that you've got that shouldn't be that way. And I know you began with I shouldn't actually have this critical thinking, but even specifically, so it just piles in there, and also kind of just holding in there that there's this education that isn't. I mean, we can have a whole list.
Mhm.
This is what I shouldn't be. Shouldn't show up like this. I shouldn't appear like this. Shouldn't behave like that. Shouldn't feel that way. Shouldn't be doing that thing that I think I'm doing. Shouldn't even have that thought. Okay. So I'm against it. So, Anne, I shouldn't criticize myself. I shouldn't criticize.
Mhm.
Have that critical energy. It talks about lack of education and unworthy and art, whatever it's saying. That
I'm
should,
thinking about a lot of things,
yes.
but there was an incident last night when I was talking to him, and he said that he had just finished an application to a residency, which is a really prestigious residency.
Mm.
And he thought, he told me about one other one that he wants to apply to. And he said to me, you really ought to apply. And I have always, the McDowell residency is the one he described. And I've always thought to myself, well, that's for people who have art school educations and MFAs and they've been teachers and blah, 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 none of which I have in my resume. So I didn't say anything to him, but that's what I was thinking. And that kind of thinking stops me from applying to these places or even thinking that it's it is a possibility that I apply.
Awesome.
So,
Good
uh,
example. And I love that, like it's so helpful sometimes have like just this specific moment, this specific example. Here's where the thing showed up. I'm
mhm,
familiar with it, but it was right there. I see myself as not having what it takes.
mhm.
Yeah. Criticizing something about myself here.
Mhm.
Okay. So is it true that you're the critical thinking that appears shouldn't be there?
Um, well, I want to qualify this, and I'm not supposed to, but I'm just let's go for yes. It shouldn't be there.
Okay. And that's okay if there's not even a actual supposed to or not supposed to, just notice.
Well, I mean, the reason I think it shouldn't be there is because it's it's getting in the way of my career and my
Mm,
self-esteem and everything.
mm. So that's so good. So okay, yes, it looks like it shouldn't be there. It's getting in the way of my career. It's getting in the way of my happiness.
Mhm,
Can you absolutely know that that's true? This critical thinking appears. Oh my God, that's for other people, not me.
mhm,
Getting in the way. It's getting in the way. Can
mhm.
you absolutely know that that's true? What an interesting question. We all think we're not supposed to be critical or have low self-esteem. Can you absolutely know it's true that shouldn't appear?
Well, I have something else to say, but I'll say no. And the reason I have something else to say is that um, given given my family background and my life situation, um, no, it's it should it no, it should not appear.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Given everything that's happened and how you've seen it and how the brain works and what goes on with being a human in life,
Mhm.
how would I know what the mind is supposed to be doing?
Mhm.
Yeah. And it looks like it makes sense
Mhm.
based on experience. Yeah. And Moira says, no, the blocking has kept me safe after trauma. Okay. And it's all right if you say, yes, 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 that shouldn't be there. It looks like it's dangerous. It looks like it hurts me. It looks like it
Can
ruins
I
my
say
life.
something else about that?
Yeah.
Yesterday evening, I had a conversation with my brother in which um, we both talked about what it was like to leave home and how there was no discussion about transition away from home. It was just something we were supposed to do. And my brother said to me, yeah, well, thanks, Mom and Dad. You just left me high and dry. I was on my own. I had to figure it out all by myself without a clue about a lot of things, about how to live, about freedom women and all of that stuff. And
Mm,
so it 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 was helpful to me to know that I wasn't the only one that had
mhm.
trouble when I left home in that family. Um, and Yeah, I don't know what exactly this has to do with. I shouldn't criticize myself, except that it's easy for me to think, that I was the only one that had trouble in the family, and
Mhm.
therefore criticized myself for that. And
Yeah,
and it wasn't true. So
nice. Yeah. It's like seeing, when I have that thought, I think other people are out there doing it. They're applying for, fellowships, and here I am, and oh, but wait, I'm not the only unique,
mhm.
you know, mental case or whatever. I think I'm
Yes,
thinking,
yes.
like something's wrong here.
Mhm.
Okay. So that that way of seeing, that critical thinking, that behavior, it shouldn't appear. What happens when you think it?
I get nervous because I feel like I can't stop this. This is like there's a part of me that um or parts of me that just pick on things about myself. And and I also get tired of these parts because they really stop me from looking around and seeing where I am and who I'm with and enjoying myself. You know,
Hmm.
there's and being curious about other things and other people. I mean, they're so in here, I don't know, fighting with each other or something. And yeah, so, and the feelings that I have, anxiety, panic, um, cold sweat, um, um, despair in that I'm never going to be able to stop doing this.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
and that's a real big one. Like the other way that I say this is that I need to learn to love myself.
Hmm.
And I don't have a clue as to, I mean, I have certain clues like doing the work, but yet I've been doing the work for a few years now, and I'm still at this place where somebody is pointing out to me on a daily basis how I criticize myself. So,
Hmm.
you know,
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't you think it's wonderful to see like us. So I'm familiar with the thing, the way of being, and I know, oh, that's the thing I shouldn't be. And it looks like there's arguments about how I've been.
mhm,
And when I believe the thought, I shouldn't be like that. I'm I'm against, oh God, when's that gonna stop? I hate
yes,
this
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Get out of here. Stop knocking on the door. I don't like you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's resistance. It's a
Yeah.
lot of resistance.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So some people, I just notice like I'm gonna figure out how to make this go away,
Mm.
and I'm gonna research it.
And also, at the same time that I think I have to figure out how to start loving myself instead of criticizing myself.
Hmm.
I get kind of jammed up and I I feel like I'm not really being authentic. I feel like I'm doing this um, in part to preserve this relationship because he said to me, this can really get in the way of
Ah.
letting someone love you.
Mm.
Um,
So I
so
get scared by this, yeah, what I'm doing. Like, oh my gosh. Yeah. Even more evidence. I might lose love if I keep this up.
mhm,
Yeah. That's really, powerful. There's good reasons to be against it. This orientation, this way of thinking, this critical thing that comes in, this thing I don't like about myself. I also like the noticing of the mind hunting for who's to blame and parents, my childhood. I mean, there nothing wrong with seeing it that way, but they did it.
Right.
If it had it differently, I wouldn't be like this. If I'd had a different experience, I wouldn't show up this way. If the trauma hadn't been there, I'd be okay.
Mhm.
And Myra says, I feel like I'm failing and running out of time. Huge anger and grief and feeling of being completely trapped. Wow. Yeah. First of all, I don't like this. And then, oh my gosh, and I'm failing. I'm running out of time. That's really, that's intense. Okay. Anyone else want to share what happens when you believe this thing about me that I don't like? It's unlikable. Shouldn't be here. And what happens? I need to love myself. I need to love myself. I mean, just noticing how it feels in the body. Might even go like, I just hate this. Why is it continuing to knock on the door? Okay. Shouldn't think this. So noticing how stressful it is. Stressful to have the thought that I shouldn't be critical and I should love myself. Isn't that interesting? Sounds nice, but it is stressful.
Mhm. Mhm.
So who would you be without the thought, without this story? This thing about myself shouldn't be here. In this case, criticism, lack of love. Like, who would you be without this story? It means you don't love yourself. Is that even true? Like, who would you be without the thought this shouldn't show up?
Um, I would feel like I would let it be there. I would feel more like a witness to it than like, and I wouldn't have to. I mean, part of the reason I vocalize my criticisms to him is because I feel like I need to confess to them. And without the thought I shouldn't criticize myself, there's nothing to confess to. So I would be more silent about my criticisms of myself. Um, not to silence myself, but just um, so that I could pay more attention to what I was saying to myself. Because once I say it to him, then he interjects and I lose myself in that.
Mm. Mm.
Um, I don't know. I think it would be uncomfortable still to have these critical voices in me, but
Mm-hmm.
but yet um, but yet I wouldn't be so glued to them, or they wouldn't be so glued to me. I would have some distance.
Mm-hmm.
Um, um,
Nice to see. It sort of like reminds me of like just sitting back and you're watching it. There's something here that's just watching that thing do what it does. It's very familiar. That's okay. Like there's that soundtrack.
mhm.
So
And also, I think um, I would have more compassion for people um, who do the same thing as I do, or um,
Mm.
who like are obviously having a hard time with themselves.
Mm.
Um, I mean, the other day I was walking and this guy, I heard some yelling, really loud yelling. And I thought it might be in a passing car, but it was somebody walking up the path in the opposite direction. A man, an older man. And I he made me nervous. I think he was having, trouble,
Mm.
maybe schizophrenic, but um, he looked at me with these big eyes, and I just kind of kept walking. But
Mm.
I would have, you know, more place in my heart for somebody like that. Um, and also not so obvious people who make remarks or whatever, critical remarks. So
Mm.
um, I guess it would just help me without the thought. It would help me be more planted in myself and um, less less resistant um, to the barbs that people shoot my way or shoot among themselves or whatever.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of like you see that happening in the world, and you see it happening in your own mind, and
Mm.
just it doesn't look so dangerous or off, or just looking at it like, if it, wow, without the thought, without the story, that shouldn't be there. I mean, it looks like, what's the reality? It looks like that appears, being against this way of being, this
Mhm.
way of thinking. Yeah, Moira says immediately more relaxed, like a weight's been taken off, no pressure.
Mm. Yeah, that's a good one. No
Yeah,
pressure.
without the thought, this way of being, this thinking that shows up shouldn't be here. I mean, wow, like, wow, just like, here it is. It's a little storm right now. Is that really who I am?
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ludo says, sometimes I'm lucky enough as to remember it's only a thought.
Mm.
Yeah. Isn't it amazing the quickness of thought too? It's like, oh, I shouldn't be this way. And it's like thought upon thought, you know, critical upon critical, like a
Isn't
mirror.
it amazing though how thoughts can make themselves feel so real?
Yes,
Maybe
it's
that's the
amazing.
power of their creativity of
Yes,
thoughts, that
yes,
they can seem to get in you and get a hold of you.
yeah.
Yeah.
Which I love, that occurs to you in this wondering, who would I be without the thought? Wow, just looking at how amazing and creative, and look at the directions it can go, and it can look horrible, and I can get images of the past and images of losing this relationship, and kind of just, it gets the whole entire dramatic movie occurs in the mind, and it is quite remarkable.
Mhm.
And we have the feelings that go with it, with for believing that it's true.
Mhm.
So this is, but you know what if it wasn't? Who would I be? This very familiar thought comes along, and I don't have the thought I shouldn't have that
Right.
comparison or thinking.
I can see that it would just be much more acceptance of myself the way I am.
Mm,
And
yeah.
and that in itself, that acceptance is love.
Yeah. Isn't
You
that
know,
sweet? Yeah.
I mean, love isn't something that I have to invent or um, I don't know, become. It's
Yeah.
already in me. it's already, I've had a hard time with acceptance, but I can see that, without the thought, acceptance is there.
Yeah, look at how accepting in a way you've been. Like, here you are, just showing up right here, no matter how much thinking you've ever had, no matter what, and thinking about thinking and wishing that those thoughts would leave, something still persists. It's just present and open. Yeah, without the story. And it's not always even having the story. I shouldn't be that way.
Mm.
And who would I be? And just imagine just a little more here, just being right in the presence of that person saying, I don't want you to think like that.
Mhm.
This new person in your life cares about you, you care about him. Without the thought, like there you are, you've got this criticism, we're calling criticism, that shows up. And without the thought, it shouldn't be there. Even if he's saying it shouldn't be there.
Well, I have a slightly defensive response, which is, it's my business, not his business.
Ah,
And, and yeah, I think there's God's business comes into this also.
mm,
Um, somehow in my family or in my past, I developed this coping strategy, and maybe there's more of God in that coping strategy than I'm willing to admit.
mm.
I've really thought about. So, yeah.
Isn't there's something so kind and so precious about that. Yeah, like what if things are just, I mean, did I invent this thought to be critical of myself or to notice things zipping through and doing what they're doing? Like, yeah, I'm not in charge of that. Not in charge of the way the brain is working. All right. Yeah. Steph says spaciousness, expansiveness, an empty container filled with peace, ease, and comfort. One of my favorite metaphors, I say it all the time, it's probably repeated, is the one that Pema Chodron and other meditators like that describing human, a mind and life. It's like you are the sky, and then there's the weather. Like, oh, there's that very familiar storm. It's always raining. It's always raining in Seattle, where I am. Look at that. There it is again. And no choice, no control except seeing that it is just weather passing through. Like, who I am is the container. It's just weather. It comes and goes and comes and goes. Like, isn't it nice to see I'm not 10 out of 10 on the critical, stormy thinking at every minute of every hour. Sometimes I'm asleep, sometimes I'm resting, sometimes I'm busy, sometimes I'm attending to something else.
Sometimes I forget to be critical.
Yeah, right. So cute. Yeah. So without the thought, just noticing all of that. Just, I like the, and standing in the presence of somebody saying you shouldn't be that. Well, don't do that. And just that they care. And that is also a thought. They're speaking words that you agree with. You've had yourself. And just noticing without that experience of I'm against any of it. So let's turn it around. I shouldn't be critical. I should love myself. I shouldn't, this thinking shouldn't appear. This behavior shouldn't appear. Guess just, it should.
I should criticize myself.
Yeah.
Um, Well, I've been doing it for a long time.
The habit. Yeah.
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 Uh, I should criticize myself. Um,
I notice if I ever go someplace and I forgot my toothbrush,
mhm.
I don't like it. You know, it's like, oh gosh, you know, you gotta, where is there a place to get a toothbrush around here? Does anyone have an extra toothbrush? Does any? And that was a habit. That was learned. That was taught, you know.
What, to brush your teeth or
Yeah,
to lose
to
lots
brush
of
my
teeth?
teeth. Yeah, to brush my teeth.
Yes, yeah.
So I'm just so used to it that it doesn't feel right to not do it. But not brushing your teeth for one day, would that be a bad thing? No. I mean, it's no. But it's just like, oh, it just has to happen, right? You're like, oh, and yeah,
Mm,
just to see, it gets really, it's just so used to that thought,
yeah.
so used to that thought. Like, but it started somewhere. I mean, I learned it, you know, and that doesn't mean anything bad about my own mind either. It's just very natural.
I have another one. I should criticize myself because I'm I've always been very impressionable, and um, my father was a strong personality, and he impressed himself on me. He was very critical.
Ah, yeah.
Um,
And that's I don't know if you're, not to put anything into it, but like being impressionable is kind of beautiful. I know you're an artist. You think about like impressionistic art and, you know,
mm,
but just impressing, you know, is the capacity to be impressed
mm,
is wonderful. It's exciting. You know, it's a great human experience. Yeah.
mm,
Just without being against it, it's like, oh yeah, you know, it's just my nature as a human. I'm connected. I love to connect. I
mm,
care about the people.
mm,
I love, you know, I love.
mm,
It's just that then I started to believe my thinking about it.
mhm.
It's hurt. But why
And
is it?
one more. I
Yeah,
should.
I know. I should be this way. Should be critical.
Well, because this person right now is in my life, and he's um, he's maybe going to be a catalyst for me to um, to look more deeply at this, or to let go of it, or to accept it, or something.
Hmm.
So, and have he wouldn't have the opportunity to do that unless I was critical of myself. So
Hmm.
I don't know if that's a good example, but that's.
Yeah. Well, it calls up something. It's like a lighthouse, you know, it's, oh, this appears, and for somebody to say, this could come between us, you know, oh,
Mhm,
I'm not, you know, so I care about that. I'm paying attention. And
mhm.
that can be a really good thing. Somebody brings something into our life. Doesn't look good. It might not look good to us for but
You know,
yeah.
I think of being critical of myself is kind of slouching. It's kind of relying on old habit patterns
Mm.
to propel me in the present into the future or whatever. And so I should be critical of myself um, because it's uncomfortable to me, and I can I can um, open myself to other possibilities, other ways of being with myself.
Yeah, with that creative mind, there are
Mm.
probably some other possibilities.
Mm.
And it served me, you know, like little bow to all that,
Yeah.
how much it was trying to help. Like Moira's saying, I should be blocking myself until I'm ready not to. I
Mm.
should be, because I'm learning how the mind works really deeply. That's so sweet, you know? Yeah. Here's mind doing what it does. And other Anne, I'm thinking of the physical act of making an impression in clay or in the mud as I walk, leaving a mark on something. There's a certain gentleness or beauty to it. That's so sweet, isn't
Mm.
that?
Mm.
Yeah. Like, you know, I walked this earth, I was here, and there's like, might not be such a bad thing. Even with these people where it looks like they had too much force or effort in it.
Mm.
You know, just who would I be? Who would I be? Relaxing. And the impression of my head on the pillow, or my way in the world having an impression on another, or them upon me. And Moira, I'm also impressionable, especially as a child, and I can see how that serves with being a musician and like a sponge.
Mm.
Sponges are wonderful, soaking it all in, you know. I'm taking in all of life. I want every drop. So sometimes I love what the turnaround with these, you know, I shouldn't be that way. I should be that way. And it's the mind and am I even actually being that way? Like, I'm already not that way. You know, I should love myself. It implies I'm not, I don't. And everything I have is already provided here.
Mm.
There's nothing missing.
Mm.
You know, there's a intelligence present that is not my business.
Mm.
It's doing whatever it needs to do. And I don't have to get rid of anything. I don't have to get rid of thinking. I can, just like we don't have to get rid of the rain or that stormy weather,
Mm.
but I can move inside and into the shelter if it's raining. I mean, you know, that'll just naturally happen. Just naturally happens. Maybe this work is that naturally happening.
Mm.
But you love that, how welcoming, like I have this thinking and this thinking's, I'm scaring myself, or, you know, I feel sad or less than or unworthy, or and that it's all just like it's oh, that's just thinking. That's what thoughts do. You know, they get on that color palette and they stay
Yeah.
you can't get
Mm.
off of it. It's like it needs to match, you know.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah. I shouldn't think that I shouldn't criticize myself. Kind of funny, right?
I shouldn't think that I shouldn't criticize myself.
And or you know, just it's like thinking about
What's
this.
it? It confuses me. It boggles my mind. I just, it doesn't help me to think that I shouldn't think
Yeah,
that I shouldn't criticize myself.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. I should think it. Yeah, that was a little bit like even just finding, oh, what I was thinking about right there was like whoever the I is, who's I saying I shouldn't criticize myself, and just realizing maybe I already don't. Like that's my mind. My mind is doing that. My thinking shouldn't criticize, and yet it should if it's doing it. But maybe it's just human, you know, showing up. Here I am, just human, having thoughts.
Another reason why I shouldn't think that I shouldn't criticize myself is because when I believe the thought I shouldn't criticize myself, I start to I start to leave myself and go outside of myself looking for approval from other people. Like I've had this feeling with Katie where I have this impression that she doesn't like me. Now,
Mm.
isn't that funny?
Mhm.
But I have had that impression, and I think it's because I was so stressed out, and maybe I didn't even know it about how much I was criticizing myself or telling myself I should be a different way. That that I was looking to her for approval, and yeah, and this can happen not just with her but with anybody, and it kind of wigs me right out. I ultimately it's a really I feel really panicked about it. So
Uh-huh. Yeah, kind of adds to the fuel of the same fire. Here I
mm,
shouldn't be criticizing, and then they must be criticizing me for being critical
yeah,
of myself.
yeah. Or
Yeah.
they and and I want her to put me right, and she can't do that.
Uh,
That's not what she does.
yes.
You know what I mean? So,
Oh, totally. Yes. In fact, you're already more right than you ever know.
mm,
It's just a lot of attention to the mind, just getting really, my identity is what I'm thinking. It's
mm,
amazing that, like you mentioned, the creativity and the power and I love seeing just the immensity of that mind, when we're believing it. And what if it's not an enemy?
yeah,
It's
yeah,
not, there it is. I mean, in some way it's neutral. It's just a brain putting out energy. And then the mind says, or thoughts say, that's a bad thought. And that's a good thought.
yeah.
Bad thought. And that's a good thought. And that's a bad thought. There's another bad thought. And those are just thoughts. So just letting all that do its stormy stuff on the surface of the water,
Mm,
down under, down underneath the top of the ocean. Very quiet.
mm.
Anne says, if you didn't criticize yourself, you wouldn't have taken us all on this wonderful journey this morning. Benefit for self-criticism. And Steph, I'm provided for, supported, and sustained without all the thinking. And Myra, I had a similar thing with Katie. I think it's very common. I definitely want her approval when I spoke to her. I wanted her approval. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. You just see something over there and admire it, and it's over there. It's not in me. I love seeing, I'm just recognizing something already in me. And maybe Katie's just a giant mirror for our self-criticism, right? The comparison, you know. But any, beloved teacher or somebody sharing, and if it looks like they have it better,
Mm,
most of them will say that I would question that.
mm,
It, it's here, just noticing it's within, it's given within. Who you are is love already. I should love myself. I already do. And if my thinking doesn't, that's, there it is. That's what it is. It's just doing what it does, trying to help out. And Anne, the other Anne says, poor, sweet, vulnerable little humans trying so hard to figure it all out and remember.
mm.
Yes. Yeah. Very sweet inquiry, Anne.
Thank you for doing this with me. It's really helpful.
Yeah, so beautiful, so relatable. So how wonderful to think of a living turnaround of just being letting the mind do its habitual thing. Just run. It's like, oh, there that is. Of course, of course it shows up like that. And yeah, it likes efficiency. It likes repeating the same thing over and over again. And that's all right. And is that all me? So I'll read the quote that I read at the beginning again. It fits. So it's from 1,000 Names for Joy. There is no greater illusion than fear. We can only be afraid of what we believe we are. Whatever there is in ourselves that we haven't met with understanding. If I thought you might see me as boring, for example, and in this case, being critical about myself, for example, it would frighten me because I haven't questioned that thought. So it's not people who frighten me, it's me that frightens me. That's my job, to frighten me until I investigate this fear for myself. The worst that can happen is that I think you think about me what I think about myself. All fear is like this. It's caused by believing what you think, no more, no less. That's good news. It's just thought. Thought isn't as substantial as we think. Yeah. Wonderful, everybody. Enjoy yourselves. Love that you were here. See you next time. Lots of love.
Thank you so much, Grace, and everybody.
Yeah, so welcome. See little hearts. Oh, yay. Bye, everyone.